All right, so I have absolutely no idea what I'm saying. Sorry. So you just have to make me look good.
I'll make you look good. You just ask the right questions and I'll make you look good.
Okay, so we got Cyndi O'Meara in the back of the ute, everybody. So excited. One of the reasons is because I'd actually booked into the Nutritional Academy's conference that you were having with Dr. Zach Bush when he was over, and that was just at the start of COVID. And of course it got cancelled, unfortunately, so I was like, oh no. But I think it was the same year or maybe a year later I got to be on your property filming, which I haven't edited anything yet. It was my early days when I was still learning to edit, and got shown around Cyndi's property, and then I realised that you'd actually, well, I didn't know, but you'd made the documentary What's with Wheat. So would you like to, I don't know where you want to start, explain how you are, where you are, or who you are, or
Okay, well, I can start with that one. So I've been a nutritionist for 40 years. I started studying in 1980, and so you could almost say I'm in my 5th decade of nutrition. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I got a real interest in it when I went to university to do pre-med at the University of Colorado in Boulder. I actually went to ski, not to study, but I knew I needed to do both, so I picked a place that had a good ski field near it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went to the University of Colorado and I was allowed to do electives, and I did the elective of anthropology and cultural anthropology for the first year of the pre-med. I was fascinated. I was absolutely enthralled by the way we survived, and food was a big part of it. So I thought, well, I'll become a dietitian. So I rang my mum and I said, I'm coming back to Australia. I want to go to become a dietitian. So she looked around near where we were in country Victoria, where I could go, and I went to Geelong at Warm Ponds. I finished my Bachelor of Science, majoring in nutrition, and then I got to the end of it and I realised it had nothing to do with what I'd learned in my first year at university at the University of Colorado. It was the exact opposite in actual fact, because they were talking about meats and, you know, foods and how they were done, how the cultures did them, hunters and gatherers and herders and agriculturalists. And over on this side, the dietitians were talking about margarine and the food pyramid and low fat and processed foods. And I just could not believe how disconnected the two were. So I thought, well, I can't become a dietitian. And, you know, back then at 23, I couldn't go against the grain per se. So I thought I'll go back to university and become a chiropractor. So I went back to university, a 5-year degree, did the first 2 years, which had all the ologies. So I cut up cadavers, which is anatomy, pathology, histology, embryology, everything I could do. And at the end of 2 years, I went, I know exactly what the body wants. I love nutrition. Why am I not doing it? So I opened a practice in Armidale and started practicing as a nutritionist, taught real food nutrition, opposite to the dietary guidelines, opposite to what the dietitians were saying, and I haven't changed.
Wow. So there's no farming background there whatsoever?
The only farming background would be my grandfather, who was an Iowa corn farmer, and my uncles are all pig farmers. So this was the 70s. I remember being there, and I remember the pig farms. And as a 15-year-old, I didn't really think too much about those pig farms. I look back now and I'm horrified. I'm horrified at what happened there. But I used to pick up the piglets. All the piglets were named after my sister and I, Lisa and Cyndi. And I used to pick them up and play with them and then put them back with their mum, who was in this crowded pen. It wasn't until I really began to really understand animal husbandry that I realised that it was a barbaric way to bring up pigs.
Yeah.
And then the corn, you know, there was arsenic and lead and DDT and all the other things that they spray on it. And now there's genetically modified where they spray all those other things. So I had that and my mum in a way as that farming background, but I'd never really spent a lot of time on a farm. My grandfather on the other side was also very interested in gardening. He gardened from his backyard. So no, I had nothing to do with really farming, if you really want it, the truth.
So from Armidale then, with the nutrition side, you obviously, it wasn't enough, you just kept digging a bit deeper. Which avenues did you go down?
Well, I read everything. I went to every conference I could go to. I remember going to a conference when I was in university, and his name was Bernard Jensen. Like, he was in his 80s and he came to Australia, a bit like Don Huber, you know? Don Huber comes and he's in his 80s and he's alive and incredibly informative. This was Bernard Jensen, alive and incredibly informative. And he formulated everything for me. Pavo-Arola, there was lots of those old nutrition gurus, I guess I could call them back then, that I really took note of. So they taught me a lot. I'd go to every conference I could with them, and then I met some younger people that were doing those things. And it was, I guess, I finished Armidale, and I got married and had a baby, and thought, I don't want to work out of the house. I want to be with my baby. I want to be a mum, you know. So I thought, what can I do in the house? So I wrote to the local paper and said, would you like a nutritionist to write a weekly column? And they accepted me. I'd never written in my life.
No, that's great.
Yeah, so I did that for 2 years. Very controversial column, as you can imagine. We got sued by the Margarine Association of Australia. But they asked me to retract what I'd said, and I said, not retracting. I said, you show me the science that you want me to show. Anyway, in the end, they asked the newspaper to put a one-page spread on the benefits of margarine, which they did. But I didn't retract my article.
Yeah.
So that was, and then the last article I wrote was on artificial sweeteners, and my editor said to me, if I put this in, Cyndi, we will definitely be sued by probably Coca-Cola or someone like that. And I said, you know what, if you're not prepared and you haven't got the guts to say the truth, I'm not working for you anymore. Yeah. So I quit, and I was a mum of two by then, I was a mum of two by then, and for a couple of years I thought, there's a book in this. And so I kind of shuffled around with it, and I sent it to publishers. Nobody wanted it. And then I had someone in my street, an editor, read it, and she said, Cyndi, I've heard you speak, and you speak with ease, and there's not much science. You talk about the science, but you make it really easy. Your book is full of science, and really, it's boring. Right. So she said, I want you to write it to be more fun and more for the common man. Yeah. So that's what I did, and because nobody wanted it, I thought, well, I'll just self-publish. I sold 20,000 in 12 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Penguin wanted me. So I decided to go with Penguin. I figured it would give me some kudos. So I was with Penguin for 17 years, but I've self-published, I don't even know anymore, probably 15 books now. Okay. So I just keep self-publishing them because I feel that for my publishers now, they're glorified printers, mainly because I do all the marketing. I am the one that's out there speaking and selling my book. I'm the best seller of selling my book, so we just ended up doing that. So my latest book is Lab to Table.
Yeah. Which I've got. Oh, which I really want you to sign.
I will sign it for you.
That was where I was going. So you spoke about wanting to secure your food for the future. Yes.
So I got not sick, but had aches and pains and tightness of throat, dry hair. My hair wouldn't grow. Just really odd things happening. Sore back, sore hip. Just feeling not good, as I should feel if I eat well, and I was eating well. So I went on elimination, and I eliminated everything from the diet except very small pieces of meat and green vegetables, basically, above ground green vegetables, a couple of winter fruits I would have each day, lowered my calories, and in a week I lost 4.5 kilos. And all my aches, all my pains, everything went. And I continued it because I wanted to see what would happen, and by the end of 3 weeks I lost 9 kilos, all my aches and pains, unbelievable clarity of mind, just like I was beaming, I was feeling amazing.
Did you feel, when you were unwell, did you feel fat, like frumpy?
Yes, frumpy. Yeah. I was looking at I was like, my clothes were getting tight and I wasn't feeling comfortable, and I don't know, I just wasn't me at 52, and everyone said, oh, it's menopause, and I went, no, it's not, it can't be menopause, no, I'm not doing that, you know. Anyway, I started to introduce the foods back in, and as I introduced the foods back in, I realized the one food that was creating the problem was wheat as an overarching food. And I went on a research binge, and for 2 years I just researched wheat. I listened to every summit. Back then, what was his name? There was one guy really talking a lot about it. O'Brien. Dr. O'Brien, I'll think of his first name. He had a really good summit out, and I just became obsessed with all of it. People like Wheat Belly had come out at that stage, and I actually think Perlmutter had put his book out. And from them, I would find all these scientists everywhere, and I'd go follow them and their papers and everything like that. And at the end of it, I went, I'm a bit worried about food.
Yes.
Really worried about food. Like, I take food from when it gets on the grocery store or the farmer's market or wherever it was. I was getting it there, and then I was cooking it. And then if you went to the supermarket, it's all processed. So I started to think, I don't know if the security of food and the health of food is really in any of our foods anymore. So I bought a farm, much against my husband's want, but he knew I'd wanted one since I was 19. I don't know what it was. When I went to the University of Colorado, I did 2 years of Outward Bound, and I hiked around the Rockies and went to national parks. I went to every national park you can go to in the Rockies, as well as Utah. Like, I went to Canyonlands, Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon. I just loved nature, and I thought, right, I'm going to have a farm. And I wrote it in my book. I remember writing it down, I'm going to have a farm. And I always wanted to be a farmer and have 12 children. That was my aim in life. But I married a chiropractor and had 3. But he knew I'd wanted a farm, so he kind of went, we're doing really well in our business. Why don't you go out and find one? So I found this beautiful 60 acres in Mullaney, and knew nothing, watched Jurassic Park grow for quite some time, and then got consultants in. And then I got my son on board, and he said, I want to quit carpentry. I'd love to come and learn farming.
When did you hear about regenerative farming in that scale of things?
Well, I bought it in 2015. So I knew about permaculture,
right?
Because I had a beautiful lady by the name of Marag Gamble down the road, and she was amazing, absolutely amazing in helping me formulate what I was going to do. The consultant, actually, I lie. It was back in the year 2000. We were travelling around Australia, and we met farmers who were travelling around Australia also, and they told me about Alan Savory. And he had just been into the Kimberleys with Alan Savory doing this, I think it was called holistic management. So that was the first time I'd heard of it. Then the consultant was a holistic manager. So he set up our farm with animals, pigs, ducks, chickens and cows in holistic farming. And then we ended up doing swales, like natural sequence, and we put trees in, and then it went from there. So regenerative farming, maybe Charlie Arnott?
Well, you were sort of already there, just didn't have the name.
I didn't have the name. I'm trying to think when that name came. I was in Booyah. Was it Booyah? I was speaking at a Women's Day event in Booyah. And there were these 2 women, after I'd finished, they came up to me and they go, do you know Charlie Arnott? And I went, no, I've never heard of Charlie Arnott. And they go, he speaks like you, but he's a farmer. You have to meet him.
Yes.
And their husbands were working for Charlie.
Right.
So through that, I ended up meeting Charlie, and that's where the name kept coming up all the time, was regenerative farming. And I had Charles Massey, I'd read his book. He had spoken at my Nutrition Academy. Who else did I have speaking in the farming world?
So that was sort of, once you got your land, you were starting to invite the farmers to speak in the nutrition side.
Yeah, because they were really important.
Yeah.
I realised our security is in the land, in the soil, in how our farmers are growing food, not the processing, not when it gets to the grocery store. That's a waste of time. I knew that it was in the land, and so I can't believe how many farming events I have spoken at now.
So isn't that amazing? So all the dots then get joined, and you just end up becoming sucked into this beautiful community, and like, it saved me. Like 5 years ago, I just didn't know what I fell over and I didn't get up. And I had no idea what I was going to do, and I tripped over Dr. Christine Jones, and from there it was just, wow, I'm off. This is good. This is fun as well.
Yeah.
And just meeting everybody that's on the same wavelength.
And the young people that are wanting to farm. I had 2 young girls up at this conference say, can we come to your farm? And I went, yep, you can come. I just don't see the point in saying no. come and see what we're doing. I want to see you guys
Because that's the
thrive.
other side of you as well, that the more personal side is your farm is open to, like you say, the younger generation coming in, and just because, and that's how I think you opened one of your talks, was that there's a need for that. There's the separate, we don't want to be disconnected, but we don't know how to get back on the land.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, you're just incredible when you speak. There's so much vibrance there's so much care and love, and when I watch you, because I know about the history of the food side of things, with the lack of minerals, that's what it is. It's just the quality of food that makes or helps to make you vibrant and healthy, and you, so you're just, that's who you are. It's not that you're just talking.
No, and it is food, and when we have the health problems, like we discussed that today, the health issues we have today, and like I gave you Australian statistics, and that was 38 to 40% of kids under the age of 15 have one or more chronic diseases. Back in 1962, that wasn't happening. It was 2% of the entire population. But what I didn't tell you was in America now, it's 56% of our kids in America have a chronic disease. And we are heading there. We're just behind America. And I watch American statistics and we're behind, but then, you know, when the next census comes out, they're up there and we've hit the American statistics.
Yeah.
And the autism rates are escalating. Asthma, allergies, ADD, ADHD, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, obesity. I'm seeing this in our little kids.
Yeah.
And as a nation, we were not ready for that crisis. No. We were so unhealthy that everybody that had a chronic disease was falling down, mainly the elderly, but now we're seeing it in the young. Yeah. If they have a chronic disease, if they're healthy and they have none of those chronic issues, but we have more with chronic issues. Yeah. I can see a beautiful ripple effect that's creating that tsunami of change. I can see it happening because I've been doing this 40 years, and you can imagine when I was writing in the 1990s about margarine is bad and low fat's bad and salt's good.
You wouldn't have known what you were talking about.
I had no idea what I was talking about. So back when I was doing that, there was very few people on board.
Yeah.
Very few people on board, you know. But now, like I'm watching Canberra at the moment, and to me, they're my people. They're the people that are fighting for freedom, not only against mandates, but freedom to decide on our own health care. That maybe we don't want to go to hospital or to a doctor. We'd rather go to a nutritionist or a farmer. Why do we not have insurance for our farmers? If I go to my farmer, like if I go to a medical doctor, it's all under Medicare. But if I go to my farmer, I have to pay for it. Why can't our farmers? Like I only need a doctor once. Like I have had the same doctor for 30 years. He's probably seen me and my kids 5 times, and it's usually because I've split my chin or they've broken a bone, or you know, one of the kids has broken a bone. But we rarely go. But my farmer, I need 3 times a day, if not 5, if I'm having snacks. You know, so it's the whole system is completely topsy-turvy. The Scott Morrison and our premiers have no idea about health. The chief medical officers have no idea about health. All they know how to do is to give another drug and another drug and another drug, and not realise the ingredients that this incredible innate intelligence needs. Yeah. And it needs what we're doing right now: sunshine, nature, good food, connection, love, good air. I walked from there to here. That's movement.
Barefoot.
Barefoot. Yeah,
Grounded.
I did grounding. Got a prickle. What else do we need? Sleep. They're the ingredients for health. Not lock you away in a dark room with a muzzle on, told to social distance and not see your family and loved ones. So my dad died 4 months ago. I couldn't get to him. Oh, wow. He laid in a bed for 24 hours. He collapsed, 93, collapsed. He never woke up, so he would not have known I was there or not there, but I knew that I wasn't there. And my brother tried to drive down and get across borders and into hospitals. They wouldn't let him in. No. He's on his deathbed. Yeah. It is ridiculous. And I'm one of millions that this has happened to. Yeah. And I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm angry that our governments have led us up the garden path. So this is the way I see it. Government's not going to change. I'm not going to look to them for guidance or leadership. I have to change. Yeah. And with hopefully example, I might be able to influence some people. And with their love and support, we might be able to change a community. And with that community, influence a country and the planet. So for me, it's that little groundswell that's happening. And I'm at that groundswell now, and I'm loving every second of it. Like, to me, this invigorates me, and I don't want to leave, and I want to listen to all the speakers, and it's invigorating.
Yeah. So those little beacons of light.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yeah, little beacons of light. And they're happening, and the beacons are getting stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
They're almost, I think, and all the moths are becoming attracted to them.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And then those moths become beacons that then other moths connect. And some we're not going to save. Some couldn't care less. They don't care what their illness is. They just want the magic silver bullet or the unicorn vaccine that Del Bigtree talks about, you know, that's meant to be the magic pill for 7.5 billion people. Like, common sense tells you we are not one in that respect. We have an individual microbiome. We have our individual genetics. There cannot be one drug for 7.5 billion people.
No.
But there is ingredients for health for 7.5 billion people because we are biologically evolutionary. We're from an evolutionary pathway that has helped us survive because of all of those fabulous ingredients. That's what's helped us survive.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Cyndi.
You're welcome.
I do just want to say before we go that if you have a chance to listen to Cyndi on any level, whether it's at a conference or even just tune into your documentary, do so, because she will open up one of those locked doors and you can peep in. So thank you so much for sitting in the back of the ute. It's
thank
been
you.
so much
Welcome. I loved it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I knocked it.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, and I forgot to put it up. But anyway, I hope it's okay.
No, the wind was getting more and more windy.
I know it was. And then I thought, oh gosh, the mic.